off with a parable. It's not really a parable, but in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a world of search engines just starting to get going. And there were tons, right? There were different search engines. In 1999, no one knew that Google was going to be the winner. So like early search engines would list websites in alphabetical order. Can you imagine that? Imagine a world where we would have to deal with search engines in alphabetical order and not based on what's actually good.
Like the phone book.
Exactly, because that's what it was. It was like, okay, we've got a phone book, and now it's just a phone book online. And that's exactly what it was, right?
Yeah.
So over time, obviously Google and other search engines came to the top. And then eventually, people understood, okay, this is how it works. This is how we can influence it. At first, it was about there were keywords in the back end of every page, and you could add whatever keywords you want. And based off of that, that's how your site would show up. And then Google realized, oh, that people can manipulate that pretty good, and that's not a real good quality ranking. So they eventually came up with their algorithm. And then we know like there's a bunch of items and that go into that algorithm even now. And we have to do our best to try to get to that, but once again, we don't really know. And then eventually after that came to a point of like where it's machine learning, where yes, Google has its algorithm, but that algorithm is not static. It's actually looking at live, right? So if people are skipping over the first result all the time, even though that first result might have all the points of the recipe, but if practically people aren't liking it, then naturally that algorithm is going to, in a sense, have its own machine learning, and it's going to drop that result down, even though technically it's got everything in the recipe. So that's kind of where we've lasted until now. Now we've got a new world where Google is technically the phone book, and Google is trying to create it's having a very hard time getting rid of the phone book because its whole business model is built around the 10 links that are on the first page and the ads that are incorporated in that. So to throw that away is very difficult for them because that's billions and billions of dollars happens through that. However, if you look at other like players, and I forgot the name of the search engine, it's something called like I think it's Perplexify. It's something like that. I forgot offhand, but they've created a search engine, but it's an AI search engine. And what that means is, right, like literally it's like ChatGPT. It's got a question, you put in the information, and you don't get 10 links, but it just answers your question. And obviously it's got links to different things. So for Google to go to that extreme would be very difficult, right? They can't just blow up their whole business model. So they're slowly coming in and they're changing things in a ways, right? So they've been testing the AI overview in beta for a very long time. And then eventually they said, okay, now we're going to launch it to the masses. It's not necessarily going to be you're not going to see for every query, and some people are still not seeing everything. I don't think it's rolled out completely yet. Early signs have said that with the AI experience, people are actually clicking more. So if you were to A/B test a page with AI experience versus just the regular clicks, they're claiming that the click-through rates are actually higher. People are clicking more. And in this AI experience, they're doing their best to surface links and, to try to not just take people's content and put it in AI, but also give people opportunity to go to websites. So that's kind of the current situation. Now, so obviously we are in a time where things are changing, and how we optimized in the past may not be the same moving forward. But the thing is, no one right now knows how to optimize. So we'll give an example of like how things are changing. So I had a podcast episode, hasn't come out yet. It's with Will Reynolds. He's the head of a really big agency, and I really look up to him. He's an amazing guy. And he says that every day he'll go in and type in something like, where is Sear Interactive located? And he'll do it on multiple AIs. He'll put it in ChatGPT, he'll put it in Gemini, he'll put it in all these other ones, and he sees what the answers are. And obviously, weeks ago when he's done this, the answers aren't great. Sometimes over time they're getting better and not. But one example he gave is that if you type in where is it located, the answer was that it's located in San Diego, Philadelphia, and London. Now, how accurate is that statement? It's not accurate. Sierra Interactive is not located in those three areas. Sierra Interactive is only located in Philadelphia. So why did those other two cities come up? One is because they used to have an office in San Diego. So obviously the AI picked that up from somewhere. But London is totally out of left field. So he's thinking to himself, that's weird. Why wouldn't he mention London? That's crazy. So the only thing he could think of was that he himself has spoken at a lot of conferences at London,
Mhm.
and there must be some mention of Sierra Interactive relative to London. And then for some reason, AI came along and put two and together and did that. Now, can we take that concept and like sort of what's the term, like break it out and kind of re-engineer it? Maybe, but there's no logic there. It's not like, okay, in order to rank for the word London, I have to make sure that I speak at conferences in London, right? No, like there's no logic there. But the idea is that as this continues, just like people figured out how to optimize for Google, all the experts are saying, okay, we're going to figure out how to optimize for this as well. And maybe, maybe the machines will take over totally and we'll have no control. But at least at this point, I think there's no need to worry. But it's sort of like we're just back in the Wild West. We're back in the day when, like in the late 90s, where we had a bunch of search engines and no one really knew what was going on. And that's kind of what it is right now. So um, for now, everything that one is doing from a search engine perspective, uh, as of now, it doesn't change, right? The point is there still are the links at the bottom, and Google hasn't said that like they've gotten rid of their algorithm. They just added the AI component on top of it. So writing quality content, writing in a way that it's giving answers, writing unique content and making yourself different than others, all that stuff really, really still stands. But obviously, like that's not the be all and end all. It is changing, but I think we just have to be patient and everyone has to keep their eye out and see like what's happening. I think the beautiful thing about the digital marketing industry is that people don't hold things close to their chest in the sense like, oh, I know how to optimize for AI and you don't. The real experts, the real like gurus are the ones who actually share their information. And that's really how SEO was born. It's because people throughout the industry in the past 25 years have always been very open on these are the studies, this is what I've done, this is how I think it's going. And I really think that's going to be the same thing here. It's hard when you're in the middle of like the Wild West because it's hard to see the forest from the trees. But I think at least from now, like you can only judge the future based on the past, and based on what people are saying is we're just in we're getting into a similar situation where we were about 25 years ago. But we just have to keep our eyes up. So I thought it was important to give you like perspective because it's very easy to like say, okay, what are we doing for AI? But I think it's important to understand like where this whole thing is at. And I don't think anyone has answers, but the trick is how do we be aware and how do we like keep our ear to the ground and make sure like, okay, what are people saying? What's going on? So that's where my stance is, and hopefully that's helpful perspective.